right now we're saying that the political sphere is corrupted and we're wanting change.
I saw the inauguration via Sassy Stone's round table that he had, and it was very interesting getting his panel's views on it, including Dolores Carhill and Dr. Robert Steele. It was very interesting their views on it. It's the thought of it that it's been staged. It was done beforehand, and it looked very dark indeed. They'd all got masks on, and they'd got Lady Gaga singing, and yeah, it was just very interesting. It didn't look at all healthy. It just looked like a very dark force was coming along, and but very interesting in the symbolism, and great to have a commentary on it as well. Yeah.
It was interesting, all of the specific one color dress everyone was walking up in. You had like Obama in all black and his wife, or so we believe, in crimson red, all red. And then you had Hillary Clinton in royal purple. Interesting.
Well,
yeah, Kamala was in sort of new age purple, and yeah, a load of black masks, and yeah, they had all the sort of main characters there, Clintons and Obama, and they had Mike Pence, and it really was. I think they kept the cameras off Hillary Clinton. Yeah, it really was quite a show, quite a pantomime, really, but looked very, very staged to me.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel you there.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Ask me.
Yeah.
It's one big play.
And here also, yeah, here in Pennsylvania, Sue. I'm sorry, I was talking. I'm sorry. You go ahead. I'll hold on.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, I agree that it's all staged, like from Trump coming in at the same time, people thinking that the government's completely corrupt and that Hillary's being bought, all the politicians are bought, and then Trump comes in with all this money, can't be bought, and really he's a part of the same people buying politicians, but like he came in at the perfect time to make people believe in voting again, and then this happens, right? And that's why there's such an uproar with everyday people, or like just anybody thinking Trump is the last signal of hope that the government can be saved, kind of thing. And if Trump goes, then it's like the dark government wins. But really, Trump is just as much of a puppet. Like it's all staged, and it's all bigger than just any one country, kind of thing.
Yes, right, yes. And also, I was saying that I saw like before Trump had left office, did you see that he had signed the bill about the new bill about the lobbying? Yes, did you see that? He had signed that just before he left.
And what's the significance there? If you don't mind sharing.
Well, yeah. Well, it was connected to the lobbying is well, it's yes. I mean, before it was illegal, so
and that's where
it was not allowed.
People.
So now it is law. So yeah, I mean, really, wow. Yeah.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Like people can't lobby. And if forgive me if I'm wrong, I'm thinking lobbying is where like politicians give money to, or sorry, like corporate leaders give money to politicians to kind of like do their bidding, kind of thing. Is that lobbying? Or am I wrong?
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
okay.
yes, yeah. That's lobbying. Yes.
And so with this bill,
what it would do, like they would show like for a medicine company or a large medicine company or something like that, or so Pfizer. So maybe kind of butter him up, talk to the congresswoman about that, or talk to try to buy their support. Yes, that's what they do.
Okay, so with this bill being passed by Trump, what's the change here? That people can't do that now? That's technically illegal?
No. I mean, it's more legal now. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's more open. Yeah. Yes, more equal. Yeah, some more open law.
Makes sense. They're richer now, so just makes perfect sense that they just want to be able to flaunt. I don't want to have to hide.
While we were waiting, you were getting on, Jackie, we were having some conversation about some American politics, which is always a tender subject, but
oh, you mean the treason show?
Indeed we do. But we're still live on Facebook, unlike other nights when that name has been mentioned. So, woohoo, we're doing good. If anyone wants to share it, it is posted to my page live. We have been streaming for a bit, so when you reshare this, if you want to mention that the first 15 minutes is more so conversation that's still very relevant, because we all have pieces of the puzzle to share, and it just so happens that Jackie has really focused on Article 61 of the 1215 Magna Carta for how many years now, Jackie?
I've been involved in it for a couple of years now.
Yeah, and then how long ago was it that you met David Robinson and started learning from him about how to go for international redress?
It wasn't long after I took the oath that I was introduced to David. I did know about Article 61 before this. I just didn't know what it was. They actually announced it on the late night Canadian news in 2001. They waited till they were just signing off for the evening, and they said that there was an important announcement coming out of England. The Barons Committee had invoked Article 61 of the 1215 Magna Carta, and then just good night, everyone. And that was it. It was never talked about after that. So I knew it was important, being that Canada is a Commonwealth country. So anything coming out of England, we're supposed to be alerted to right away. It's part of our lineage as well, right? So I knew it was important. I just didn't realize what it was and how important it was until I stumbled across David's Facebook group and took the oath myself.
Fantastic. And so once you did that, then there were a series of 5 letters that you have to send out sequentially. And that's kind of the process that we want to go through tonight using screen share to make sure that this becomes the reference opportunity where people can say, I want to do this. And all the information is there. But as we know, you can lead a horse to water and you can put. If you're ever working with me and I hear you treat another colleague with disrespect, talk down to someone, I promise you I will fire you on the spot. On the spot. No ifs, ands, or buts. Everybody. Well, that was interesting. And so we have a voice of another key player. If you who are on the call can refrain from unmuting unless you do have something to share, which that was poignant, for sure. And yet, yeah, if we
was that? That was crazy.
Well, it sounded like Biden's voice, in fairness, and
yeah.
I imagine that it was from the inauguration yesterday, and so there was the reference as to firing someone if they're doing the wrong job, and yet he's been in politics for how long? Hey, how you doing? So, I'm looking good.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. The government's already been fired. They were fired in 2001.
Oops, sorry. I just accidentally muted you, Jackie.
We need to unify.
So
with unity. Unification. George, that's actually the right word. Of course.
I think we got a troll on tonight.
Yeah.
With unity.
It's
a pretty good agglomeration. There we go. Agglomeration.
Okay. Wow.
That's what we like to call controlled opposition.
Yo, was he
Lets
making
us know
weird
we're doing
like
it
lip
right.
noises?
Thanks for the free advertisement, buddy.
Oh my gosh, he was making like weird lip noises too. Like he was like going like in the background. Like I got my headphones on and all I'm hearing is like, what the heck are you doing?
The vibration of what's coming in.
Okay. So
yeah, they don't like what we're doing because they know that Article 61 is the only law that can hold them to account. And believe you me, my friend, we'll find out who you are.
And then you can catch it.
But anyway,
it's not who is speaking right now, Jackie. So
No, it's not. That's actually getting me so weirded out right now, to be honest with you. Like,
It's
I feel
hackers and paid opposition. It's part of the shadow banning and crap that they do to us.
yeah.
Yeah, it just goes to
I'm
show
checking
how
every
much we're
channel right
actually
now
winning
too. It's none.
winning the war, because they wouldn't be trying to stop the information from getting to the people if the information wasn't important.
Of course, they'd have no reason to do anything.
Exactly.
They would just sit back because they wouldn't care.
Exactly.
So,
and that's the thing. That just proves the validity of Magna Carta. We wouldn't get that sort of response if Magna Carta wasn't valid.
So,
and that's the thing. Every Commonwealth country celebrated the 800th anniversary of Magna Carta 1215. We didn't celebrate the 1297 statute version. So they know that Article 61 is the only law that can stop them. And Article
It just
61
magically stops, eh? Like, we start talking about it and like saying it, and it magically stops.
Yeah, well, that's
there was a sound coming from none of the channels, and it was like, it was weird.
It was a hack all the way. It was a hack all the way. It's not the first time it's happened to me, and chances are
me neither. Same feeling every time.
Jackie,
I'll let you guys do this.
Thank you, Rennick. With this, what we're working to do is actually make it so that this is an easy way for people to say, hey, I want to do this. I want to stand up for something that is so important that opposition does come in to interfere. And we're going to go through with it anyway. And basically what we're going to do is go on to the Facebook community, or is there a different place where you'd like us to follow as to where the documents are held so that we can get those printed and then be able to say, this is the first document, this is the second, this is when you send this, this is who needs to receive it, this is who else you can send it to. That's what we're going to be doing.
Yep, I've got everything pulled up in front of me here, ready to go. I would prefer if people got the documents from the group the Facebook group Practical Lawful Dissent UK, Canada, and Commonwealth. I will be changing the name of the group very shortly to Practical Lawful Dissent International. But because we are working on setting up a foundation in honor of David Robinson. He's the man that brought all this knowledge to us. So the first step of the process is to take the oath. And that's pretty basic. You just put your name and address in the top left corner. You put the Baron's name. You put your name. And you sign it, date it, and get 3 witnesses. You'll send a photocopy of your oath to the Baron listed on the oath. You'll send that registered mail.
I'm just pulling up my screen, Jackie, in Facebook. So we've just pulled into the Practical Lawful Dissent UK, Canada, and Commonwealth section, and it's under units that we would find all of these documents, correct?
Yes, you'll also find them in the topics list.
Okay, which one's easiest?
The units are probably the easiest right now.
Perfect. So step 1 is taking the oath. And then we print off the PDF version of the oath.
Well, there's other formats. You can't always access the PDFs. For some reason, it's just the different devices that people are on and whatnot. So there are other formats in the topics list. So if you can't get the PDF, then go for the topics list.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
For the swearing in, do I need 3 signatures as the witnesses?
Yes.
So this is where the Baron's address goes, which is already provided for you just for ease. This is where you put your information. This is when you actually say that you posted that letter, which would go in alignment with the tracking number you'll get from the post office. I would recommend recording yourself when you actually go. Chantal and I did, and it was an interesting process to bear witness to yourself, potentially. This you keep the same, this you change to your name. Here is the day when it was sworn, because this is the document of intent. This is where you sign your name in written scribe, and then this is where you do your printed name. And then it was witnessed, hopefully the same day, by 3 people whose signature, name, and then the date would be the same as when it was submitted. So that would be the first step. You take you put those documents all together, and then we move on to the next step, which would be under Unit 3, Step 2, notify police and courts of your lawful standing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to click over onto there and be mindful that when pop-ups come, you can't just automatically see them because I can.
So Jackie, if you haven't got all 3 signatures on the same day, is that a big deal? Because I didn't.
Well, as long as they're fairly close together.
Couple of days in between, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as they're fairly close together, you'll be all right. But the fact is you are making a lawful instrument, so you want it as close as possible. But the realistic thing is that a lot of people don't want to sign at the beginning, especially if you're in a small town and you're starting out by yourself. People are a little scared to put their names to these documents because they don't understand them. So it can be a little bit of a challenge at first. So the jury will understand that, of course.
And so with this one is, if you just run us through what needs to happen with this is the second letter that will be sent out. After the oath would be first. After we have registered, mail, posted that letter off, this one happens. What would be the duration afterwards recommended?
As soon as you got 3 witness signatures, you're under oath.
So as soon as we've had our oath witnessed and sent off, then we can do this process. So it could technically be done the same day.
Yeah.
Up on the top, we do from and our address.
Yeah.
Then to the chief constable. I know that you had a question, Chantal, with how to find out who
yours
is.
Yeah, how do you find out the information about who to send these to specifically in your area?
You can usually just Google who the chief of police is for your area.
Okay.
And it'll usually pop up. And yeah, the court clerks, they're a little harder to get a hold of. Judges, you can find their names easy enough. For doing your lawful standing, you can send to a judge because there's no demands on you. Because the judges actually, they have no authority in those courts anyway, right? So when there's demands placed on us, we go after the court clerks. But for your lawful standing, you can put a judge. But yeah, just Google that information.
Okay.
So this letter goes to the police, a judge,
yeah.
And who potentially...
No, this one here is just for the chief of police. It's a little bit different than the lawful objection to Crown agent.
What is the difference?
Because this one is going to the police. We need the police to do their jobs.
Okay. So this letter is different from the one you were talking to Chantal about.
Yeah, just slightly.
Yeah, the chief constable one has that on it, and then the other one has it doesn't have chief constable at all.
No, it has to Crown agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the to chief constable and to the chief Crown agent, those are two.
Crown agent is anybody in government or the judiciary. So the one for the police, you only use that document once. The lawful objection to Crown agent, you use multiple times.
So it's the one that is to the chief constable, that is only sent one time. And then there's a different document that you will go to next that will be sent to all of the police stations in order to put them on notice, because that's one of the things that is required.
Okay, well, that's a separate process. Let's go through the lawful standing first instead of confusing people with multiple processes, because that's a completely different process. and it's for a completely different reason. This is your lawful standing. This is to protect you.
Great. All right. So here we've got
Where it says to chief inspector, you'll put the chief of police's name there.
Doing
and then you'll put the address of the police station.
Of the police station.
Yeah. And then the date you're signing the notice.
Okay. And then notice of lawful objection and declaration of standing in law. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. So basically what that line says is that notice to whoever receives it is notice to the one that receives it as per on the letter, and then that means that notice to principal is notice to agent too. So the one that's receiving the letter, even though it's not made out to them, is being put on notice, as is the one who receives that notice.
What notice to agent and notice to principal means is that anyone who receives this document has a duty to inform everyone above and below their station.
So you send this to one police station, and everybody in the police station should be made aware of it, because the person that received it is supposed to tell everybody.
Yes, they have a constitutional duty to inform all those above and below their rank.
Okay. And then I'm writing to you on the understanding that you are the most senior acting police constable at the station that they are the leader of.
Yep, the name of the police station. You got it.
I'm therefore writing to you and putting you on notice of my standing in law with the intent to prevent any future breach of peace, either by...
You'll put the name of the police force.
So Barrie Police Constables, or by debt enforcement agents of the Crown or any interested third parties thereof. Whereas I...
Oh, well, it wouldn't, see if, okay, so if you're in Barrie, you would put the Barrie Police Station, and then the name of the police force would be the RCMP or the Ontario Police Patrol.
How do we know that we've got it right? I guess we just look it up and then just whatever.
Use themselves, please.
Yes, all the information can usually be found online. Sometimes we have to phone. If you do have to phone for information, make sure that you record the telephone call. Always record any interaction with any government official.
And it's best to, it's best to be in printing or to be videoed, so that way you have proof.
Yes, everything we do is registered mail. We do not send email.
So I just wanted to make sure that I understand and I have this clarification. So when you said record every action when we present the document?
Okay, record any
So is this through the mail?
Any interaction. So if you're on the phone with them, record the phone call. If you're face to face with them, video the interaction. You'll be sending these.
Okay, so how do you
registered
suggest
mail.
that I do that? Do the recording? Do I do that with, because I'm deaf? So typically we write everything because I can have them to write everything. And if I have to write back and forth, then it won't only be video.
Well, it's still a good idea to video any evidence, because what if they commit high treason against you? You need that evidence to protect yourself. And that won't be written on paper. They're not going to write down that they're sticking a needle in your arm.
So if I bring someone with me who can record, and
Yes.
then I have my recording showing the interaction of writing back and forth with that individual, then that should be sufficient?
Yes. Yes.
There's just
Perfect. Cool. Thank you.
the scene, like there's a lot that goes on with body language and intonation and where eyes are rolled and things like that that get captured on camera compared to somebody can, you know, sign anything, but if they're doing it and, you know, they know their rights, which a lot of the people making the rules right now know the rights and know how to work their way around them too. So it's just a way to protect yourself. Writing
Exactly.
video is even better because then it covers all of the subtle nuances. So
exactly.
Where we were on and the document, whereas
right.
And then the name in 2021 in 2020 did swear an oath of allegiance to the Committee of the Barons, whom invoked Article 61 of the 1215 Magna Carta on the 23rd of March 2001. See Exhibit A and B. Are those included with what we actually send off?
Yes, always include the evidence. It's already in the notices, so just as long as you're sending all pages, you're good. Everything's already in there.
Okay. And that your name, declare to be standing entirely under English and Commonwealth common law with lawful excuse to stand in defense of the realm against high treason and or those who may seek or to be seeking to extort force unlawful gain from me at this time or at any future time whilst Article 61 remains in effect by attempting to coerce me into breaching the common laws and commons of the land and my sworn oath or declaration of allegiance. Thereby I am hereby putting you, Chief Constable, on full notice of my standing under the law in truth in order to prevent a future breach of the peace or crime from occurring. I therefore need to know in written form by return of post, whereas you have a lawful obligation and duty of care as a public servant to respond promptly and in good faith to this notice with any objection to my lawful standing whatsoever you may have. And if you do have any objection, then to provide in substance exactly what your objections may be. So we're actually calling them to reply to us.
Yes. Yes, see, that's the thing. Once Article 61 is in effect, we all have a constitutional duty to stand under it and defend the realm and the Constitution. That includes them. So we are compelling them to stand under Article 61 with us. And if they are going to deny, because to deny the Constitution is sedition at common law. Okay, and that still carries a full asset stripping. And according to, I think it's the 1571 Treason Act, I'll have to look that up. David just dug that up for me not long before he passed. That according to that Treason Act, sedition is still punishable by the gallows along with treason. So even sedition will get them the gallows. And that's just to deny the Constitution. So we are asking them to provide evidence of any objections they may have, because if they object, they are committing the crime of sedition at least, if not misprision of treason.
Okay, so this puts the top person of the police force on notice that they need to do their job.
Yes.
Okay, so what if they don't? Like,
then
what
they're
if they
committing
do
a crime, and these notices are evidence that they're committing crimes, along with any replies they may have.
So basically, it would put everybody on the spot. Like, if they did do it, then people would have to enact the law. But then, like, I guess it would come down to how many corrupt people there are in the law and how many people who will, like...
Well, that's the thing. There are no courts of law.
Yeah.
So that's where the problem lies. That's why Article 61 is so beautiful, because it deals with the crime of treason. We are using Article 61 to restore the rule of law. And that rule of law puts the people in power.
Right.
Government is only there to get shit done.
How are we going to uphold it, though? That's what I'm wondering. Like, how are we going to, like...
Juries. We need to get juries back in our courtrooms. That's the essence of all of this. We have to restore the rule of law. And that is our proper court de jure with full jury nullification.
Okay. Okay, all right.
Jury nullification is basically nullifying the ones that they chose. Can you explain what jury nullification is for those that are listening that may be slightly confused by what that term means?
Okay, well, Parliament is allowed to create acts and statutes because they are only allowed to repeal acts and statutes. They can never be permanent, okay? Only the people can create laws. Laws remain in perpetuity. They are forever binding. Under our common law, there are only 4 main common law tenets: cause no harm, cause no loss, commit no fraud, and keep the peace. So when Parliament proposes a piece of legislation, it has to first fall within the confines of our Constitution. All the acts and statutes we see today are crimes. They do not add protection to the people. They are actually crimes against the people. That's why it's treason. That's why we're putting them on notice. But what is supposed to happen is the legislation first has to fall within the confines of our Constitution. Then it is proposed to what is supposed to be a constitutional monarch. Elizabeth was not. She actually inherited a treasonous regime. So she's never been a constitutional monarch. But the constitutional monarch is supposed to look it over. And if it does fall within the confines of the Constitution, then it is presented to the people in the form of an act or statute, legislation, if you will. Let's say someone in the community breaks that legislation. Now they're brought before a jury of their peers. Okay? And the jury is the judges. They are there to vote on their own conscience. Is there malice? There has to be mens rea. There has to be malicious intent. There has to be guilt in order for there to be a crime. Okay? So, let's say one member of the jury doesn't feel exactly comfortable punishing this person for this offense. It doesn't seem fair to that jury member. There might have been reasons behind it. You know, you stole a loaf of bread to feed your family, that kind of thing. There might be reasons behind it. So if the jury deems that legislation as unfair, that's jury nullification, because all 12 jury members have to vote guilty in order for there to be a guilty verdict. They're tapping into natural law. Natural law is within all of us, and that's what common law is. We're all born with a sense of right, wrong, and fairness, and that's what the jury trials are all about: right, wrong, and fairness. It's true justice, not what we see today. So if it's a not guilty verdict and the person has technically broken legislation, the process is it's called jury nullification, and the process is started to immediately remove it from the statute books. So one person out of the entire country can affect an entire piece of legislation. That is true power of the people. And that's why they're trying to destroy it. Because not only can that be used defensively, but it's also designed to be used as a weapon to hold our public servants accountable. Because once the jury has deemed a piece of legislation as unfair, then there's something called common law private prosecution. And any public servant that was involved in creating that piece of legislation that has been deemed unfair by the jury can then be prosecuted free of charge by any member of the public. What do you think of the lockdown regulations now?
Yeah, so this is making it so that everybody understands that we cannot they can no longer hide behind tribal abscondment of personal responsibility. Now we're all being held personally responsible, and that's what Article 61 allows us to do. So on page 5 of 19 of this document, which has loads of the evidence, so you need to print off all 19 pages, you get to page 5 where it's signed, witnessed by, and date. Jackie, we sign ours and then print our name as well.
Yep, same as all the other ones.
And then same thing with whoever your 3 witnesses are for this document as well. The enclosed evidence shows the exhibits that will be featured and then features them. So very cut and dry. And at the end, there's just more information so that they understand that this is a legitimate document.
At the end, that link you're seeing at the end, that's actually evidence.
Yep.
That's the link to the FCO 301048. That is our most damning piece of treason evidence.
And if you were to summarize it, you would do that how?
The Heath administration willingly committed both sedition and high treason to bring us into the EEC, the European Economic Community. The EEC is also the EU, which is also the UN.
Right.
Yeah.
And the UN to me is like, that's the table of elites, basically.
Well, it all ties back to the Nazis. We've got documents dating right back to 1942 that show that this is in fact the Nazi backup plan in case they didn't win the war militarily. That is why we're seeing so much propaganda being fed to the people right now. That is also why we're seeing internment camps being put up right now. And that is also why they are threatening forced vaccinations. These are all things that happened during World War II in the Nazi regime.
Yeah, literally.
Those wearing masks right now, they might as well be the brown shirts.
Yeah, I was like freaking out the other day, just like thinking, holy shit, like we're just as bad as we're in Germany when they let it happen. Like it's literally happening. And somehow as a people, like collectively, I'm not saying us here, but just as a whole, like here we are repeating history. Like it's just ridiculous. Like we know history and we're repeating it still. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The Star of David, the masks, the brown shirt.
Yeah.
It's all very much similar. And then they had, after the Star of David, then they had the Night of Glass, when they went around and broke all the shops of the Jewish store owners. And right now, just with the lockdown.
Right now, there's
middle class.
We're seeing the exact
It's not Jews
same
anymore.
thing.
It's middle class of everybody. Like literally anybody who was like competing to try to get to the upper echelon of high class, like they were all dropped. Like none of their stores are allowed to stay open. Bills keep accumulating. Like I don't know how they're supposed to recover.
Yeah,
like
so Night of Glass is already upon us, and Pfizer was actually the same manufacturer.
Well, the point is they're not supposed to recover.
Well,
yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
We all get these things, and so that's the point. We get it, and it's like Pfizer was the same manufacturer of the drugs that were used in concentration camps.
No way.
And that's why, yes, and that's why Article 61 is so important, because what we're witnessing is a silent war. That's exactly what it is. We are literally at war, and most people are completely oblivious to it, even though it's happening in their own communities.
They're genius. They've sedated us. They've given us all the comforts in the world, and the more comfortable you are, the more you're not going to do anything, because like you've got security. Like they understand psychology so well. Like we're eating right out of their hands.
Well, this has been an 800-year conspiracy. Literally, they've planned it from day one. It's the longest con in human history. And that's why Article 61 is so important, because it is our only weapon in this war. And we need to use it to its fullest potential.
sooner than later, because if we wait, like at what point do you turn around when you're already in the
We're already too late. We need to get on it now, like not
Yeah.
now, but yesterday.
Yeah.
So
Literally, like people are literally getting this vaccine and it's going to change their life forever.
we're gonna shift back, Brandon.
Yeah, and I had a question. So I'd heard about all of this, the treason and the laws being violated, and so my concern, well, so I'm in the U.S. and our police here, oh, it's awful. They're so bad. They're so bad. You can't even talk to someone. You can't say anything without being arrested immediately.
That's why
it is big in our community right now. And so what do I do? What do I do if I see a police officer beating someone or and I'm trying to record and that's it? I can't interrupt. I can't ask questions. I can't ask if they're under an oath.
Well, they are under an oath.
So what do I do?
Always record the evidence. It's a little harder for you not being able to communicate as easily. It's always
yeah, and because I'm deaf, but I don't miss much though.
Yeah, but usually we make sure that people can recite the constitutional caution card. I'd get it put on a t-shirt. Get the constitutional caution card put on a t-shirt.
If
That way it's invisible.
If they'll start committing treason, who do you go to? At the very last resort, who for sure do we know that we can take all this evidence to, and they've got what it takes.
It's all about the people, my friend. The people are in power. There is no government.
So we're
there
hoping
is no courts.
By showing
it's
this
all about the
information
people.
that they're doing treason, that'll get people out in the streets.
Article 61 is very specific in how it works. It is the highest constitutional law ever written, and it is a law for the people to use. The more people using it, the better. We are the 99. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So, and they work for us.
Absolutely. That's exactly how it's supposed to be.
Exactly. So Article 61 tells us exactly what we need to do. Take the oath, collect the evidence, and seize the buildings.
Wow. All right. Yeah, we got to just do it. That's just that's what I want to hear. Like, if it's like, that's what we got to do, that's what I'm willing to say to people. Like, we have to seize the buildings at that point. It's crazy.
Well, we have to, the thing is, it has to be done lawfully under Article 61.
Absolutely.
So that's why it is so important that we take the oath and we use these documents. People say, oh, well, what is your paper going to do? Well, my paper is evidence, so that when we are ready, the groundwork is all complete, and we give the call to action, and the people seize the buildings, and the people hold the buildings, and we get the police to do their jobs. The criminals are arrested. Juries are back in the courtrooms. Then there is going to be another mass treason trial.
Right, and to see if we were criminals.
People of the Commonwealth, because we all have a constitutional duty to stand under Article 61, once the people have redress, we will be instructed to send our evidence to the jury. That will be here in England. So everyone in the Commonwealth is going to have to collect all their copies of these notices and send them to the jury here in England. Article 61 has been in effect for 20 years now. We should have 20 years worth of evidence on every single one of these criminals.
No way. Okay. That's
exciting. So Jackie, once we've seized the buildings, because we've got a little group in Bristol and we talk about this, and we go in and we seize the building, and we're all sort of thinking like, oh, what now? What next? What next once we've got in the building and seized it? Do we expect
I can't really talk about redress over the internet.
Okay. Okay, so
I'll
it is a bit of a
crystal soon.
Well, I think
know.
one thing is the
We're
corruption.
We're looking forward to having you.
I'll be there soon. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Okay.
Jackie, could I ask a question, please?
Yes, Debbie.
Hi. I just concerned that 20 years of evidence, is that what you're talking about from Tony Blair, etc.? Because I've just been a bit concerned that Tony Blair is still meddling in politics, even though he committed treason according to the.
He's already been put on notice a long time ago. So there's already evidence collected against him. What I mean by we should have 20 years of evidence is once Article 61 was invoked on March 23rd, 2001, every single person in every single Commonwealth and former Commonwealth country has a duty to take the oath then and there. I have 18 years of missing evidence. Constitutional duty means constitutional duty. It is by royal command that we take the oath. That's why the government is trying to hide Article 61. That's why they try to deny it. That's why we get hacked when we're doing discussions like this. Because they don't want the people using the only weapon that can win this war.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
So once we've actually sent out that second letter,
the first notice, you mean the one to police?
Yes. So we do the oath, and then we send the oath or the letter to the police.
Not letter. These are not letters. They are constitutional notices.
Okay. So once we've served the notice to the police, the lawful objection notice to police, then we go into the next section. There's a checkpoint. Where do we go? Step 3 is the notice of default opportunity to cure.
Yeah.
And so how long after we've sent the letter to the police?
10 days.
The notice.
You wait 10 days from the day they receive it. We're sending everything via registered mail. Always keep a copy of the notice that you sent for your own records. Keep your postal receipt, your tracking number, staple them to your copy of the evidence, just like you did your oath, and file it away.
And
because we're basically opening and closing a treason investigation. The police aren't doing their jobs. So it's our job to police the police.
So that's where the lawful objection, the notice of default and opportunity to cure comes in.
Yes.
And you guys can see the notice of default and opportunity to cure, Chantal?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so we're on, they can see that. So from and address is us, who is sending to this one, then gets addressed to who, Jackie?
Well, it depends on, because the remaining 4 process notices of the process are always the same. So if you're doing the chief of police for your lawful standing, then it would be the chief of police. If you're doing the courts, it'd be the name of the person you're sending to in the courts. If you're using the conditional acceptance to stop any demands, it'll be the person who's making the demands and the department that they are for. Because this notice will be used every single process.
So this notice gets used for every single process for the subsequent 4 letters that are sent. This is the second letter that, or the second notice that is sent, and then it's also included in the other 4 or the other 3 is what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is the first notice will change. Okay? Once you've done your lawful standing and you put the police on notice, that police inspector notice is never used again for you. Okay? The notice, the lawful objection to Crown agent, You'll use that for the courts for your lawful standing. And you'll use that when putting any member of parliament or town council on notice that is not making any demands on you. The conditional acceptance is the notice you'll use to start any process for anyone making demands on you. They want you to pay taxes, they give you a ticket, that sort of thing.
So
all processes are followed with the remaining 4 notices. The notice of default and opportunity to cure is the second notice in every single process you start. Because remember, you're going to be putting more people on notice than just the police and the courts. You're collecting evidence. So you're going to be going after a lot of criminals. There's a lot of bad guys.
So this notice of default and opportunity to cure gets sent to as many people as what?
Everyone you put on notice gets this letter.
And we're to be putting the cops, courts, and councils on notice in our area, plus then
yes,
the ministries of health for letting this happen. So I think it would be very important if you could actually list off even a handful of the people who would receive this letter based on the treason being committed that we're all being subjected to right now, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, cops, courts, your local council, you'll want to go after government whips and all MPs. Anyone that is making demands on you for council tax, fines, fees, court dates, pretty much everyone. The Minister of Health, Minister of Education. Right now, I'm starting a campaign against the BBC and the heritage ministers. So that's actually very important, putting them on notice.
And they would all receive the notice of default and opportunity to cure as the first letter that they would receive, and then they're going to receive a few more as well?
No, that will be, they all start with the lawful objection to Crown Agent unless there is demands.
Okay. And then the notice of default and opportunity to cure, that
is always the second one.
Always notice number 2. There's always 5 notices to every process. The default and opportunity to cure is always notice number 2.
Okay.
Gotcha.
That was step 3. And so then step 4 shows it to be the notice of default.
Yes.
So the notice of default, explain what that is as I pull it up for people to see.
Well, the notice of default and opportunity to cure, you're giving them a chance to rectify the situation. You've informed them that Article 61 is in effect and that they have a duty to stand under it. So, and the default and opportunity to cure, you're giving them a chance to stand under it. You're giving them a chance to rectify the situation. By the time you get to notice number 3, the notice of default, they're obviously committing a crime. They're committing sedition. They're committing misprision of treason at this point.
Right.
They've been informed. They can't say they didn't know. Maximum law, ignorance of the law is no excuse, especially once they've been informed.
Right. So the opportunity of default and opportunity to cure is the first notice that they receive. And then if they choose to do nothing about that, then we just send a plain notice of default to remind them that we haven't forgotten that they're committing a crime.
Exactly.
And in this form, we see that it says it's now taken to mean that you and all interested parties agree entirely with the points of law that I previously stated, and that blank has no lawful claim against I, which would be our name. What is the blank? What do we put in the blank of this notice of default?
The name of the person or the company.
Of the one that we're serving, essentially.
Yes.
Okay, and then... So it's just, so then there's only ever you put the name on the blanks, or is there a different, is there anything else that we should be aware of? having filled out these forms?
Sometimes you'll have to put the company name there.
Okay. So if any more unlawful demands are made against me by said person with regard to threats of enforcement and any other claims laid against me, a counterclaim for damages may ensue against you personally. So that's us setting them on notice to say that in the Nuremberg trials of it was my job isn't a good enough excuse any longer, and we're letting them know they're not protected. And then we sign it here and then witnessed by our 3 people. Again, each of them dated it, each of them also printing their name too.
Yeah.
And then that letter would go out 10 days. So the oath you sign immediately, and then you can do same day sending the letter to the or sending the notice to the police. And then
the courts, yeah.
Court.
Police and courts.
And then the second, and then 10 days later, after they've received the letter, then we send the letter, or we send the notice of default and
Cure.
Opportunity to cure, yeah.
And then 10 days after that has been received, as per the notice on the registered post, we then send out this notice of default letter.
Yeah.
And then we go back to...
The next notice is the notice of coercion to aid and abet.
Now, Jack, does it matter if you have the same 3 people witnessing each time, or can it be different people? Nope. Okay.
Okay, and we're getting over to... So this is then the 4th letter we'll be sending out, or the 4th notice, and it's not a letter. So by the end of this, we'll have the right languaging, which is important. So this notice is a notice of coercion to aid and abet high treason and misprision.
Misprision of treason, yeah.
Misprision? What is misprision?
Prison.
Misprision of treason is to know that treason is going to be committed and to do nothing.
Right. Is there meant to be an extra I in prison? Misprison? That's the only reason I said it differently.
I don't have an extra I. Misprision.
MISPRISION.
SION is the issue, isn't it? It's just SON, is it not? Prison.
Yeah, I think there's a typo in this. Which
Oh,
is
okay.
what I was saying.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Spelling,
yeah.
I wasn't sure whether misprision was a different word or whether it was just the typo. So
No, that is a typo. Sorry.
No problem.
I'll correct that in the files.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Okay, good. And so then same address or same deal here. We're putting down the person, either ourselves or the person we're serving. And so this one, they'll already have received 2 notices that they are not doing their job, that they have now ignored. So here's a bunch of evidence to let them know why doing so is not in their greatest and highest good. Signed by us, witnessed by our 3, same deal. And then this is the evidence already prepared for us. So couldn't get much easier than that. Thank you for all of what went into making this possible for us to just have at our fingertips so easily. And then
that is all thanks to David. He gave us these beautiful documents last year. He made these notices specifically for the Commonwealth.
Now, does this evidence apply to no matter where you're living, like Canada, the States, or Europe? Like
it applies to all former and Commonwealth countries. So it does apply to the United States because they used to be a Commonwealth country.
And Canada as well, obviously?
Canada is still a Commonwealth country.
Okay.
I didn't even need a visa to come here.
Okay.
We have the right to abode.
True.
Amazing.
So what about the UK then?
What about
the UK is the
what
motherland.
about Russia?
It's in Russia. No, it doesn't apply to Russia. We do have people in Russia that do support us. They're not happy with their current regime. They are standing under Article 61, although I'm not sure if they are actively trying to use it. I did have to warn them that because they're not fully protected, because we're in chartered territory here, right? Like Article 61 is a law for the people, and it is the only law in effect and will be the only law in effect until the people have redress. But the Commonwealth realm has never been this large before, when Article 61 was in effect. So I don't think the barons realized that it would want to spread worldwide. But yeah, we do have people in Russia, Germany, France, Italy, Denmark. Lots of non-Commonwealth countries are interested in it and possibly taking the oath quietly. But because they are in uncharted waters, I have to tell them that we don't know what their regime is capable of. So they could be shot for all we know. And most of them just say, I would rather die trying than not try at all. So
Heck yeah.
I guess that's a personal choice for them to make.
So the evidence is for the UK and the Commonwealth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, what happens in England happens to the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. So the notice to stop is where we come to next in the units. Notice of default and opportunity to cure, and then the notice of default, and then notice of coercion to aid and abet high treason and misprision of treason, and then the notice to stop.
Yes.
I count 4.
Yes, but we started with the lawful objection, remember? The first notice is what changes.
So that only goes out to the head of the police, and then these 4 go out to everybody else that we feel is participating in this.
These 4 go out to everyone, including the police.
And these 4 would go out to the same, we would address these.
You would start with the notice of lawful objection to the police for the police. You'll start with the notice of lawful objection to Crown Agent for the courts. Both processes, you will send the second document of the default and opportunity to care. Then you will send the notice of default to both. Then you will send the notice of coercion to aid and abet to both. Then you will send the notice to stop to both. If you have a demand, you will start with the notice of coercion or the notice of conditional acceptance. Then you will move to the notice of default and opportunity to care. Then you will move to the notice of default, then the notice of coercion to aid and abet, then the notice to stop.
So
go after ministers, you'll use the notice of lawful objection to Crown Agent, go into the notice of default and opportunity to care, the notice of default, the notice of coercion to aid and abet, and then the notice to stop.
Okay.
Always 5 notices.
And so it should technically take about a month to be able to get all of those letters out if we do it according to the 10 days in between each of the mailings.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we've got...
Canada's a little bit behind in this, so if you want to change it to 7 days, I'm good with that. Just make sure you change it in the notice itself.
And that you're sending off the printed copy, and we're keeping the original of the documents that we're using as evidence because we are
No, when you keep the original oath, you send the original notices. The wet ink signatures are the evidence. That's why they don't give us wet ink signatures.
So we're giving them our wet ink signature, though?
That makes it valid evidence, because when they send you something, they send you the photocopy of the signature.
Mm-hmm.
That's not valid evidence. It means nothing.
Right.
When I'm doing my notices, I always print them both at the same time, my copy and theirs. And I'll just double hit them and get wet ink signatures on both.
Right.
No
Jacquie,
wiggle room.
What if you've sent the photocopy? Because in the instructions that I had from Telegram, I firstly sent the wet signature to the Baron. and kept the photocopy.
I did the same.
We did that too.
And then on the notices, and then I was told by the group Lawful Dissent UK, always keep the wet signature. So to the police and the court, I sent a photocopy and kept the wet signature.
Isn't it a joy when admins don't listen? Yeah, no. The wet, like I said, the wet ink is the evidence. We are sending them evidence that they have committed a crime.
Okay, so if we've done it the wrong way around, what do we need to do?
You'll be fine, because there is a learning curve to all of this.
Yeah.
All of this was removed from our education system back in the 50s and 60s. So we have to realize that there is going to be a learning curve to all of this, and we are going to make slight mistakes in the beginning as we're learning, because it does seem overwhelming at first, because of the simple fact that it was removed from our education system. And I'm pretty sure the jury's going to realize that, considering it is a jury of the people, and we are the people.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Chantal, you had questions that you wanted to put forward as well? You're muted.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I have some from somebody outside of this call right now who's got a list of questions as well. She's a registered nurse, and this is in regards to the nose swab and such things that they're having to do. So as a registered nurse, I have a license and registration to maintain. How does that work when you're under common law?
Okay, I'm not really sure what she's
saying that she has to keep her license and registration. So how does she do that while she's under common law? Because she's supposed to get like the nose swab to keep working.
Okay, so are they demanding that she get tested in order to get her license,
to keep
her registration,
to keep working? And yeah, hold on, I'll just continue to read a little bit more. Maybe she explains. Oh, this is number 2. Yeah, that's all it says. How does that work when you're under common law as a registered nurse?
If she is trying to avoid getting tested and keep her job, well, then she definitely needs to put the health ministers on notice and the head of the healthcare. So here in England, it's the NHS. In Canada, each province has its separate, like Alberta Health, Ontario Health, whatever. But yeah, you'll have to put the head of the health department on notice and include a brief cover letter stating that you have taken your oath as a civic duty to the people, and you must remain working there, must be allowed to remain working there under extreme duress, but you do not consent to any unlawful acts or statutes or legislation being forced upon you.
Okay. As an employee on Ontario's healthcare system in long-term care home, I am required to wear masks and shield. How can I work and yet claim my sovereign rights to be unmasked?
Same thing.
Okay. Is it strongly recommended that I take the vaccine and choose not to? Will being a sovereign protect me against this if she chooses not to take the vaccine?
Yes, but again, you have to put health ministers and the head of the health system on notice.
Okay.
Always carry your constitutional caution card, memorize it, and use it.
Could you guide us there?
It's in the topics list of the group under protection tools.
Okay, so where's the topics?
Should be on the right-hand side of the discussion screen.
Discussion screen.
And so what about banks and mortgages, banks for mortgages?
Just before you move on, Chantal, I want to just find this because I don't know where it is.
Right there, you just passing it.
Recent files here?
Up.
Oh, up a little bit.
Where it says see more. Click
Popular
see
topics
more.
and posts.
Show more.
You'll have to click see more. I got a lot of topics.
Okay. And then where is it down?
It'll be in protection tools.
Under protection tools. Oh, there we go.
Right there,
Okay.
yep.
Protection tools. There's 14 of them in here. So
There it is right there.
right here is that caution card that Jackie has referenced a couple times. So if we can print off this constitutional caution card, it basically is the pocketbook we pull out when somebody tries to say that we can't do what we're doing. And we say, no, actually, now you've been notified, so I need your name because now you've been put under notice. So that's how we really make people aware. Because as long as people feel like they can hide behind something, then they're not going to take personal responsibility. So, Chantal, what was
The last question I just asked is, what about banks for mortgages?
We try to avoid the money situation right now because of the SESQUI Act is null and void along with all the other documents. You can try to use the notice of conditional acceptance, but when it comes to things like money and kids, they fight us a little bit harder on that. So if you're going to take on that kind of a battle, make sure you know your stuff and you're prepared to take on that kind of a battle.
All right.
So what about I'm so sorry. What about I'm sorry, my it just it left me. I guess I will call soon. Because you were talking about, you know, you were just saying something about that with the lady's question.
With the mortgages, we don't we try to avoid the money.
Yes.
Do you mean the SESQUI?
So is that included? Is taxes included with that for the IRS?
It is unlawful to pay taxes while under a treasonous regime. Fight the taxes all you want. The problem with the mortgages is they're from private banks. Unless it's from your country's central banking system, I wouldn't recommend it. Because each Commonwealth country has a central banking system that is supposed to be printing our money and giving us zero interest loans. But they're not doing that. They're borrowing money from the Federal Reserve and loaning it to us at high interest rates. So if you've got a mortgage with your company, with your country's central banking system, then do it. Like if you've got a mortgage with Bank of Canada, then sure, do it. If you've got a mortgage with the Bank of England, then yeah, do it. But the other banks, they're all privatized. So they're going to be a way harder battle.
There is a question I see in the chat as well that says, how does this all relate to or work with Nacera and Jacera? And I'm very curious about that. And I just tuned in over on the chat. So if you don't mind, I want to address that one.
Nacera Jacera is a trap to get you into the New World Order with a smile on your face. Yeah. Yep, that's all it is. That's all it is. It's a trap. Everything they do is a lie. Period. No ifs, no ands, no buts. They've been lying to us for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. They are not going to start telling us the truth this close to full human enslavement.
Yeah, not a chance.
And that's why everybody here tonight is on this call. So thank you to each of you for being willing to see through the very deceptive lies that are being thrown over the truth. And thank you for being willing to if not do your part, at least get curious about what that could mean. Because so oftentimes we get overwhelmed by a process we don't understand and back off and then just say, oh, we'll leave it for somebody else. But like, we're the players on the field, guys.
Yeah.
Well, and really it seems a little overwhelming at first, only because this information should have been taught to us as children. And we're only finding out about it now.
By
But
design.
the fact of the matter is, Article 61 is extremely easy to use. The documents, you just print them and fill in the blanks.
I'm more worried about the repercussions. Like, once they see
Don't
that
worry
I'm doing
about the
this.
repercussions, because the fact of the matter is, they're coming for you whether you like it or not.
But like,
So
do you feel like if we're doing
stand
this, we
using a
should
law
have
that-
a, like, before you start doing it, you should be with a group of people all trying to do it with you? Like
No. I was the first Canadian to take the oath. I had the entire country telling me I was crazy.
Have you put
Now
people
I'm in
on
England
notice?
going for redress. So
you've put people on notice. Like, I'm just wondering, like, the retaliation back, like, of trying to shut people up that are doing that, because that's the only thing that can
that's
stop
happened
them.
to me is I've got a whiny little judge in Alberta that's running to the mainstream media because he knows his neck's in a noose.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. That's again. That was my only real concern. Is
lies.
if I start putting all these people on notice, like, I'm just wondering, like, are they just going to take that lying down? You know what I mean? Because like they've worked this hard for hundreds of years.
The matter is, we do not get arrested for obeying the law.
Right.
I'd just like to add one word in here when you're saying you're scared about doing the notices. When I first started, I was alone doing them too, and it took me a little while to go past the oath to declaring my standing. And once you get past that, it's game on. Like, let's go get them. So I've got a couple of letters. I was running to Jackie. I'd be scouting, Jackie! You know, she wrote me the first rebuttal letter, and then a second letter, I got another one. And then I got another one. And I go, okay, it's not scary. They don't even put your signature on it. It's like a 9-year-old.
Most of the time, they don't even
Louise even had a confrontation with the police, her very first confrontation with the police.
Well, who lives here in the U.S. that's doing this?
Oh, we've got many people in the U.S. that are taking the oath.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, with the, you know, the mainstream obvious, like, cover-ups of the murders, like, that's what I'm thinking is, like, to what extent do they go?
Here. I worry if I send the notice, I'll have cops showing up at my door to put me in jail.
You gotta lose the fear, because let's face it, they are using fear to control you. That's why half the population is locked in their houses right now, and the other half are wearing masks.
Well, I guess we have to, if we have to have.
Well, I'm not. It's not that I'm scared. It's just that I want to know, what do I do? What do I do when the police show up at my door?
Make sure you have the 3 people who your witnesses are with.
Because, like, I know not to answer the door.
There's a document in the group that states what to do when police show up. All the answers you need are in the topics list. We've got everything you need. We've got validity of the Magna Carta for when they're trying to rebuttal you. But the point I was just trying to make about Elise's story is, as soon as she stated she was under Article 61, the police walked away. All 3 cops got in their cop cars and drove off.
Okay, well, that's reassuring.
I was shaking in my boots, but past that, I went back to the post office and sent the 2 notices that I needed to do.
Most of the time with the notices, they don't even answer them anyway.
No, most of the time they don't. I think they took my name with Jackie's name there. I PD'd Jackie.
Yeah, so when you're sending written notices out, don't be terrified at all, because most of the time they really just don't even answer them, and we're just collecting the evidence.
Collecting evidence is big and important. So it's not just collecting. You're doing your constitutional duty.
Yeah.
Nice to see a couple of my admins on here.
Hi,
the ones that do their jobs right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, well, that's definitely
I wouldn't have got that whole
signature wrong.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better because that was like, again, my only thing where it's like I do want to come against them, but I'm just
All right,
worried of the
thank you.
timing.
Yes.
You know, it's like, do I act now and show my cards? Is it too early for me to show my cards? But yeah, that makes me.
No, you get the notices done, you get the groundwork done, you spread the word, you get as many people under oath as possible, because we're starting to organize for redress.
Yeah.
And the
And
call
if
to
they do
action is
happen to
going to come
respond,
soon.
if they do happen to respond in writing, we have rebuttals for that to go with your next notice.
Exactly.
And you can
Okay.
Because it's all just BS trying to deny Magna Carta, which is sedition. So,
Yeah.
you know, we got sedition rebuttals. We've got everything you need.
Awesome.
Yeah. And some of the notices that they send out in response to your letters, like, it's not even relevant what they're saying. It's just all them trying to distract and make it seem like you're the one being silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, some of the letters, some of the responses we get are quite hilarious.
Yeah, they're really
You
quite
shake
silly.
your head and you go, really?
Yeah.
Actually, Article 61 is really a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. Once you lose the fear and you realize that you're standing under the highest constitutional law ever written, like Elise said, it's game on. Bring it.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality of it. Article 61 is the only law in effect. Simple.
Yep.
You're either obeying that law or you're a criminal and we're coming after you. It's that simple. It's a game of cops and robbers, basically. Only
Yeah.
it's the people versus the traitors.
Yeah, and we don't
Yeah.
want to be aiding and abetting them by sitting on our asses doing nothing, basically.
Well, yeah, those are the
Exactly.
true criminals, are the ones who are good and stand by and do nothing. Because, like, the evil, it's just not going to stop anyway. So, really, it's up to us. Like, it's our responsibility.
Exactly.
It's everybody's
Fun if you can find a
responsibility.
group of people to do it with. Like,
Yeah,
no-
to be with a friend or a call back is always nice, because I have a buddy that we call each other when something happens.
Yeah.
And so it makes it wonderful because you can debrief with them.
Yeah.
We'll go on Telegram, debrief call.
Yeah.
Just got a notice. What do I do, right? And then it's Jackie.
Yeah.
Or meet face to face.
And people in your area will come on board too, eventually. Like, I've been doing this since April, and I live in a tiny little remote town in Australia. And so
Yeah.
I have been alone doing this since April, but finally, people are starting to come on board in my part of my state.
Well, I got one person on the call right now that's like a block away from me. So, I mean, like,
Yeah, so
we've
that's
already
cool.
got like a witness for each other. And then,
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a
Jackie,
four-man group.
Maya, what do you say to people that say the Magna Carta is not valid? You need a new Magna Carta like the Obernicia. It's Magna Carta
Forever binding in
2020.
perpetuity.
The Magna Carta is forever binding. It states so clearly in Articles 1, 61, and 63. And the fact of the matter is, King Henry was a 9-year-old child. He didn't have the whereabouts or the authority to be changing the people's constitution. Only the people can change Magna Carta. It is our constitution. It protects our sovereignty. So the only way that document can be changed is via a constitutional convention of the people. And that is a long ways off yet. Because
and it has to
we
become
have to have
worldwide.
redress and restore the rule of law.
Brilliant.
Then we have
Thank
to
you.
have a period of re-education of the people throughout the entire Commonwealth. And then we have to have a constitutional convention of the people. And that's when every single one of us will have a sovereign say in our constitution. There are some flaws in Magna Carta that do need to be addressed, but we will be able to do that at a constitutional convention of the people. One person cannot sit down and make a new constitution that applies for millions of people.
Yeah, and that's Commonwealth wide.
Is what he did.
I was having a conversation with someone yesterday who was saying about how Justin Trudeau always talks about his premiers as if the Prime Minister of Canada were above all of them. But I was also told by this same person who read me the BNA Act that basically shows that each of the provinces were actually made sovereign states. So this whole separatism has just been another.
Actually, the BNA Act is a treasonous document. They set Canada up to implement the New World Order. That's why they're trying to move the UN headquarters to Canada.
Right, yeah. Well,
if you read Agenda 21, Canada is their golden nugget.
God, yeah, we're so underpopulated here. Like the amount of land per person, we're like so like there's nobody here, essentially. Like it's ripe and
well,
untapped.
it's the resources.
It's the same here.
Yeah.
The resources. Canada's got the largest, richest, vastest amount of resources.
Yeah, because it's untapped. Like there's nobody here, essentially. But yeah, like it makes perfect sense. And then socialism, I think, is the most like rapidly advanced. We're the most like far along the whole socialist agenda. It just seems
it's a completely fascist regime. But the fact is, back to the provinces are sovereign. No. See, that's the problem right there.
Mm-hmm.
Parliament is treasonously trying to claim your sovereignty. We, the people, exist in nature. We, the people, created government. They are the fiction. And the fiction can never gain control over its creator. It's a simple concept. So Parliament cannot be sovereign, nor can provinces or states.
Chantal, any other final questions that anybody has submitted? We are in the final 5 minutes of the call, so anybody that does want to bring forward anything in this week, we'll be gathering again next Thursday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time again for the next summit of its kind. If anybody goes through the instructions after the fact, I'll get this edited and posted to my YouTube channel, Laura J.E. Hamilton. So please subscribe while you're there, share with some friends, get this information out there. There's lots of other resources on there designed for uplifting, motivating, and ultimately helping us stand in our power and call it back where we've given it away. So I am thrilled that we've had an opportunity to be able to connect tonight and that there has been a lot of interaction and conversation. Is the group on Telegram or platforms other than Facebook? Yes, absolutely. They're on many different platforms. And so if, I believe it was Nicole, if you wanted to send me the description or the links for all the ways that people can plug into the information, I'm happy to put that into the description when I post this recording. I know that you've...
I'm not sure I know how to do that.
Elsewhere. I know somebody from the Practical Lawful Dissent UK, Canada, and Commonwealth group had done a good post that had a bunch of links and tags that I should have saved in a more easily refindable place, but I'll see if I can find that. But I'm just so wanting the information to be accessible, just like what tonight was. Hopefully this has made the 5-step process just simpler to be able to use. User friendly is ultimately how we actually use it. So hopefully that's been helpful. And if no one else has any final remarks or questions.
The last question I did have was in regards to savings plans, and I don't know if you wanted to answer anything about that again. It's, are these funds protected against government grabs if we as sovereign hold them or maintain them in their registered state? To remove them, how does taxation work as a sovereign holder?
It is unlawful to pay taxes while under a treasonous regime.
Yeah.
But just to quickly assert, considering you mentioned the BNA Act there, Laura, David did up a wonderful write-up in the group's topic list. I think it's in treason evidence, if I'm not mistaken. David did a write-up on the BNA Act. So Canadians can, I think he even added the Statute of Westminster in there too. So they can see David's words on those treasonous documents for themselves. But again, they're all treasonous documents. And that means they're null and void. Canada is no longer Canada. It's back to being the first federation of the British Empire. The Americans are no longer Americans. They're Canadians who are back to being the first federation of the British Empire. So.
A lot of identity crises to the world. As it's a joke, but it's not. Like, that's part of the scary process with this. Because from a self-image perspective, if somebody has believed this to be the truth, and now suddenly we're informed that all of it, outside of that, except for which they wanted us to believe, is actually the truth, then there's a whole reorientation process. And it's during times like these when it's so turbulent that we don't now know what the truth is. Therefore, we can't trust the truth, and we don't know who we are in relation to that which no longer is what we thought it was. So there is a lot in terms of self-image and identity that is going on.
That's right. One other thing about Article 61. It is the truth in law. It is the only truth in law at this moment in time. So, and they're trying to hide it and say, oh no, it's a big fat lie. Well, yeah, they wouldn't be trying to stop us if it was a big fat lie. They're the ones that are telling all the big fat lies. Article 61 is our only truth. So one of the things we are firm on in the group is we don't look at the problems, because I equate it to a tree. Treason is the trunk of that tree. All the problems that we see today are the branches. And what happens when you prune the branches of a tree? It grows bigger, it grows stronger, and it grows faster. We need to stop pruning the tree, pick up our axe, which is Article 61, and chop it down. Remove it at the source, the treason.
Yeah, come in with the bulldozer and push that tree up and dig up the roots. Like, don't let that grow back. Oh my God.
So, and we'll be making sure. See, that's another thing about Article 61 being invoked in this day and age, because we've got the knowledge, we've got the technology, we've got the wisdom, and we've got the communication with each other, that we can hold a proper constitutional convention of the people throughout the Commonwealth, and we can address the issues in Magna Carta, like the protection it holds for Central London, because Central London is the problem.
Right, because London's its own entity, right? Like, it doesn't even belong to the EU. It's just like a sovereign.
Rome.
Yeah. No, it belongs to the
All
EU.
All roads lead to Rome. There's a reason that saying exists. Central London is owned by Rome. They are using Roman Admiral Law of Commerce.
Yeah, because I did hear that they didn't like they're just like this Federal Reserve, where they're just like above everything else. They don't belong to a country or anything. Like, they're just like,
yeah, they belong to Rome. They're Rome. They're Rome.
But does that mean that Rome is then kind of just like not living under the same? Are they?
That's why they've got Vatican City, Central London, and Central Washington, D.C. as listed as offshore countries.
Right. Okay.
The
Yeah.
Square mile of each city is listed as a separate country.
Yeah. That's.
They all work together.
Exactly. Yeah. That. I was kind of like mixed up in what I knew, but yeah, you clarified it. Yeah. That's what. That's how you just know, like, those are the prime spots, because it's like just anomalies living while the rest of the world's operating differently.
Yeah.
With these offshore companies.
Trying to take out Magna Carta since the beginning too.
Oh yeah, they've been attacking our Constitution since day one.
Yeah.
The Vatican have?
Oh yeah, that's what this all is. If you look at the history, there's always been a pope trying to get his hands on England. It's always been like that, right through history. Look at 1216 with King Henry. King Henry was a 9-year-old child. There was a Vatican Pope whispering in his ear, take out the security clause, reissue the Magna Carta without the security clause.
Yeah.
And it's always been Rome versus England, right from the get-go.
And then they're trying to seat Catholic monarchs all the time too, and we can't have Catholic monarchs. It's not constitutional.
Exactly.
I think it's interesting too that, like, out of all of the religious groups in the world, and there's like many religious leaders, the Pope was coincidentally the only one to verbally say, oh yes, I do know that there are baby fetal tissue inside of the vaccine, but it's okay, you can receive it because you didn't do the killing. It was literally like, you didn't do it, so it's fine. You know, like, all going along with the narrative of
Can you link that so I can see that?
it got deleted. I literally do not know where it is now.
All right. Well, yes, all roads lead to Rome. And as you said one time when I said about all the rabbit holes and really wanting to create these opportunities to make it so people are less distracted by the rabbit holes. And
focus on the remedy.
This is this is where it all leads to. So if we just keep on leading back to the truth behind the truth, then we can really get to the heart of matters. So thank you to everyone for joining in tonight. We're going to wrap up tonight's meeting, and next Thursday, January 28th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please do come back. Please bring your questions. Please take your oaths of allegiance to Article 61 to the barons. Send off your letter. Keep the photocopied version and send off your original. And then also make sure you get the registered letter information to keep that as part of your evidence that you, as a responsible, not citizen, but sovereign being, are now actually collecting. And then once you have done that oath, then you can send off the first letter. And then once you've done that, you wait 10 days to see that they have actually received it, and then can start on the process of the next one. So within the next week, hopefully we'll have a few more people that have started this. I know I have a letter to be sending off this week. So
Notice.
Thank you. Notice. I am also going to work on.
Sorry, guys.
So, absolutely brilliant. We've got a dog in the picture. Sociability, beautiful omen to have in the frame. So, thank you, Jacquie, for your insights and wisdom. Thank you, everyone else who contributed as well. Thank you, Chantal, for getting those questions and reading them out as usual. And thank you for being willing to do your part as we all make it through this better and stronger than ever because we're together.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. I got it.
Thank you, Jacquie.
You're awesome, Jacquie.
See you next week.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Have a good one.
Take it easy.
I'll be in Scotland next week, so
enjoy.
Yeah, broadcast. I'll be there joining.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
We look forward to seeing you there. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Travels, Jacquie.